Welcome to SFF180 Classics. Today, in commemoration of the death of Ursula Le Guin, I'm looking at what is probably her most acclaimed and influential novel from a career that was frankly chock full of them. 1969's Hugo and Nebula winner, The Left Hand of Darkness. Hello everyone, Thomas here, your host, as always. A popular quote that made the eulogy rounds came from this novel. It is good to have an end to journey toward, but it is the journey that matters in the end. The Left Hand of Darkness encompasses multiple journeys. It's about humanity reaching out to create bonds across the vast gulfs of space. It's about nations in conflict working their way back towards an uneasy peace. And it's about two people from different worlds caught in both a literal and metaphorical journey away from mistrust and conflict towards understanding and acceptance. Arriving at the height of the late 60s New Wave, it opened up possibilities for science fiction with an influence still being felt today. We might very well not have gotten such works as N.K. Jemison's Broken Earth trilogy without The Left Hand of Darkness, let alone the careers of C.J. Cherryh, Ann Leckie, Zadie Smith, an entire generation of writers. It's one of science fiction's most important novels, establishing Le Guin as a titan of the genre. The story follows Genly I, an envoy who has spent 2 years on the icy planet of Gethen, attempting to persuade its people to join the Ecumen, a kind of United Nations of inhabited worlds. Now, in Le Guin's Hainish cycle of stories, the human race evolved not on Earth, but on a world called Hain, which eventually colonized the galaxy before a period when all interstellar travel temporarily stopped. As a result of genetic experimentation, many of these different strains of humanity have very different traits. On Gethen, the people are ambisexual, remaining essentially genderless for most of a month before entering a brief mating period called Kemmer, during which individuals pair up and their bodies physically change to either male or female. It's possible for a single person to have given birth to children and to have fathered others. This unique sexuality influences all of Gethenian society, regardless of nation, and it presents a number of problems for Genly, whose mission is constantly stymied by his inability to understand, let alone assimilate into, Gethenian culture. Genly is himself regarded, not to his face, as a kind of sexual deviant for being stuck in a single-gender identity for life. For his own part, Genly cannot wrap his head around the mannerisms of his androgynous hosts, nor can he make much sense, and to be fair, neither can we, of an elaborate practice of etiquette and social courtesy called Shifgrithor. As the story opens, Genly has at last been granted an audience with Argiven, king of the nation of Karhide, arranged by the Prime Minister, Estraven, one of the few locals who's actually supportive of Genly. Argiven, who seems paranoid and a bit crazy, rejects Genly's offer, and Genly soon learns that Estraven has been accused of treason and exiled from the country for taking up Genly's cause. Genly leaves the capital city while Estraven makes their way with difficulty to the neighboring country of Orgarain, which is currently embroiled in a nasty regional border dispute with Karhide. Estraven arranges for an invitation to be extended to Genly to enter the country. Once Genly arrives, he discovers a much more complex political situation. Whereas Karhide is more a straightforward autocracy, Orgarain is a web of factions, each scuttling for advantage. To reveal more in any detail would involve spoilers, but suffice it to say that circumstances ultimately become dire, requiring Genly and Estraven to flee Orgarain together, on foot, across glacial ice, in a journey that takes more than 80 days. There have been enough essays to fill whole libraries detailing the themes Le Guin explores here, but the one most widely discussed is the way Le Guin speculates on what kind of societies might form where traditional notions of masculine and feminine do not exist. It's hardly utopian, but it is shown to lack the kind of hierarchies we get when one gender assumes by evolutionary default a position of power over others. People on Gethen are generally decent to one another. When Estraven and Genly travel to remote towns, they're granted generous hospitality, and this is considered the norm when meeting strangers. On the other hand, politics can be volatile. While the Athenians have never known war, signs are that this is changing. While Genli is attempting to unite everyone into joining the ecumen, both Karhide and Orgarain are becoming more militantly nationalistic. When King Argiven enters Kemer and becomes pregnant, Tibe, the acting regent and Estraven's political rival, enacts policies so authoritarian and xenophobic they'd make Nigel Farage's eyes water. Le Guin did take some heat from feminist critics for creating a society where only heterosexual sex happens. When Athenians pair up in Kemer, they become male-female partners, and that's it. But I take issue with those criticisms. For most of their lives, Athenians are entirely sexless, and if Kemer is a biological cycle entered into solely for reproduction, then sexual identity as a concept, whether gay, straight, bi, ace, that doesn't really exist for Athenians. I mean, nobody has recreational sex, so really, why would any race of beings think in terms of gay or straight at all, when each person has equal odds of manifesting male or female reproductive organs during Kemer? Whatever your feelings on the concept, Le Guin was thinking about sexuality in revolutionary ways for SF at the time. And the fact that writers are still expanding on and dialoguing with her ideas nearly 50 years later is a tribute to her impact on the field. Beyond these themes, though, for me personally, The Left Hand of Darkness is the best story about friendship and loyalty in all of science fiction. Yes, the concept of yin and yang, everything needing its opposite for a kind of universal balance, is a little trite. But what is very much on point is the necessary acceptance of differences. Genli mistrusts Estraven right up until the moment on their journey that he is able to overcome his prejudice about Estraven's alien biology, and acknowledge his own failure to appreciate that no one on the entire planet has sacrificed so much for him. If anything has the capacity to defeat us, it's the walls we build up around ourselves, to protect ourselves from things we should know better than to fear in the first place. Combining lush writing, multi-layered world building, and a bottomless well of compassion for the human condition with all our successes and failures taken together, The Left Hand of Darkness remains one of science fiction's great legacy works. If SF ever hoped to teach us about embracing the strange and the new, to reach past the darkness towards the light, then we never had a better instructor than Ursula Le Guin. And that is all I have time for in this episode of SFF180 Classics. I want to thank all of you for joining me. Remember, the most important thing, these are reviews. You will not always agree with me, but if you enjoyed watching, please hit that like button, share the video far and wide with all your SFF reading friends, and above all, please subscribe. If you haven't, that is how SFF180 grows as a channel. You can also support the channel at my TeePublic store and at my Patreon, where recruits into Wink's army get cool little perks like getting to see some videos early and things like that. So I want to thank those people for their awesome support. I want to thank you for being incredible viewers. And until I see all of you next time, happy reading.